This is one of my favorite creations of all time. I made it for my mom and dad about 40 years ago, around 1980. So bear in mind, that was before the internet and home computers and YouTube videos on how to do things and stores where you could just order miniatures or anything you wanted. Everything had to be sourced painstakingly in hobby stores, of which there weren't many, and figure out how to do things. So basically what I did is I made a package that is covered in fabric to look like a present, with a big bow on top and plexiglass front so you can look in to see a miniature scene. And it's at Christmas. I have a little bronze plaque that was engraved that says a Leiber Family Christmas circa 1960. I painstakingly tried to recreate pretty much what our typical Christmases in Rollins look like. Anyone that had been to our house will recognize the beige fireplace. And if you've seen our long stockings, they're atypically extra long. But anyway, what happens here is the lid comes off. And this was made with foam core board, which has warped through the years a little bit, so bear with me. But the lid comes off. And this front panel was velcroed on, and it comes down so you can see inside. And so what we have is we have a little wreath over here on, yes, beige walls. They're cracking a little bit. This is actually in pretty good shape for being 40-some years old. This little tree I did find with some decorations on it, I think at a hobby store, and it actually lighted at the time. It took C batteries, and there's a little switch under the skirt where you could turn it on. It doesn't seem to work, though I don't really have C batteries, so I tried rigging some AA, and I just think it's burned out over the time. But lots of miniature little packages with tags and wrapping paper. A lot of the wrapping paper I actually found pictures of at that size, because remember, we didn't have computers where we could print things off at miniature. But I found pictures in like a Montgomery Ward's and Sears catalog of wrapping paper, and I cut out the ads and made the wrapping paper. And same thing with little cards. I painstakingly made each of the bows, and I remember each one took about 20 minutes. This whole project took me much longer than it should have or would today, I believe. I spent over 1,000 hours on it for some odd reason. And then we had this beige fireplace with a big copper L. At the time I thought it was brass, so I got some brass and cut an L. It's certainly close enough, and that's the shape of the L. And then these fireplace accoutrements, the andirons that are all interestingly shaped, that's all based on pictures I saw of when we were little kids and some home movies that were 8mm. Same thing with the hearth. I counted the pieces and I made each of those little squares out of balsa wood and painted it to look like the ceramic tile we had. Same sort of thing with the floor. I made the wood floor with individual planks of wood from the hobby store and stained it. And then this rug, I got some images from when I was in a crib, actually, and this looked sort of like our pattern of our rug. So I found some upholstery fabric that sort of looked like it, and I added some felt tip pen to make it look more like that. And certainly one of these years was when one of us kids got the little red wagon, so I put the little red wagon in there. These big candles that Mom and Dad had, You'll see those in some of our Christmas cards. And these big stockings, I didn't do as great of a job on those, especially the lettering of Jeff, Donna, and Beth. Our aunt, my dad's sister, made those for us. And they actually are that long. I'll show you a picture of how they look, because typically stockings are much shorter. So also, I'll move some of these packages out of the way so you can see this tree skirt. Yeah, can I do this while I'm holding the camera? Maybe. Mom had made a tree skirt that had the name Leiber on it and lots of really beautiful decorations. We always had that growing up. And then when us kids, can you get in there? Let me see, can you see Leiber in there? There we go. And decorated with trees and candy canes. And when us kids went off to college and then had our lives of our own, Mom made us each a tree skirt that looked very similar to that. And so this was this project, which was absolutely amazing to do. When I started out, I was going to make one for Mom and Dad, one for Beth Ann, and one for Jeff, and one for myself. And of course, since it took so many hours, I did not end up doing that. But there you have it. And then I was going to show the trapdoor on the bottom where the batteries went, but I won't because this is already long enough. Merry Christmas.